The room was laughing when my father said it. Crystal glasses chimed. Someone clapped. I didn't. "You're not my biological child," he announced, smiling into the microphone like it was a punchline, "so I forgot to put your name in the will." I remember the heat in my ears, the way the Kate candles flickered like they were nervous. I remember how quiet my breathing got, how still everything became, right before I stood up. I walked to him without haste. I placed my gift on the table, one sheet of paper, folded once, no ribbon, no envelope. Then I tore it in half, then quarters, then eighths. I dropped the pieces like confetti at his feet. The laughter thinned. Someone coughed. My father's smile stalled, then broke. That was the beginning of the end, though I'd been preparing for it much longer than he knew. I grew up believing blood was loyalty. He raised me like a son. My school fees, my first car, my wedding toast. He taught me how to shake hands firmly and never show fear. He taught me chess on Sunday mornings and told me that patience wins wars. I believed him. When my mother died, he held my shoulders and promised me I'd never be alone. When the business expanded, he called me his successor. "Legacy," he said, tapping my chest, "you're it." So I built my life around that gravity. I worked late, I protected the brand. I took the hits quietly so the family name stayed clean. I trusted him with the same blindness he'd trained into me. Trust makes you generous, trust makes you slow. The first cracks were small. A new lawyer I'd never met, documents I wasn't copied on, meetings rescheduled after I arrived. He stopped saying "we" and started saying "I." I told myself it was age, pressure, paranoia. That's the thing about betrayal. It asks you to help it hide. Then came the jokes, at dinners, at parties. "He's got my discipline," my father would say, pausing just long enough, "but not my blood." Everyone laughed. I learned to smile a second late. At night, I replayed those moments. I counted them. I felt something cold begin to align. The truth arrived without drama. A clerk at the records office recognized my name and hesitated. Too long. She slid the folder across the desk like it was heavier than paper. Adoption, closed, finalized, signed by my father. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. Something sharper replaced the ache. So this was the game, not rejection, replacement. I sat in my car afterward and stared at the steering wheel until the leather warmed under my palms. Then I made a decision so calm it scared me. I wouldn't confront him. I wouldn't beg. I would finish what he started. Silence became my weapon. I requested copies of everything: corporate bylaws, property deeds, trust amendments. I read every clause like it was a confession waiting to happen. I discovered the oversight he thought no one would notice, the interim authority he'd signed over to me years ago when his health dipped. Temporary, he'd said. Irrevocable, the fine print whispered. I learned who he'd paid to rewrite the will. I learned who'd been promised what. I learned which signatures were forged and which ones were merely coerced. I documented, I archived, I waited. He thought my quiet was weakness. It was discipline. Then he sent the birthday invitations. 70 years, family, friends, witnesses. I smiled when I RSVIP'd yes. Which brings us back to the candles, the laughter, the microphone. After I tore the paper, he knelt to gather the pieces. His hands trembled. He tried to reassemble them on the table, brow creased, breath uneven. When he finally saw what it was, the color drained from his face. Not a letter, a notice, a legal transfer of controlling interest, dated, filed, executed 3 months earlier. The signature at the bottom was his, authentic, verified, and devastating. He looked up at me then, really looked, for the first time in years. "You knew?" he whispered. I leaned in so only he could hear me. "You taught me to read contracts. You taught me patience." The room was silent now. Phones were out. His lawyer was already standing, pale and sweating. I straightened.
"You forgot to put my name in the will," I said calmly, "so I took my name out of your life." The aftermath was surgical. Control transferred, accounts froze, allies scattered. The laughter never returned. By morning, the story had changed, no longer about blood, but about competence. He called me once, left a voicemail, apologized without saying sorry, asked without asking. I deleted it. I didn't need revenge to be loud. I needed it to be final. Now, when I think back to that night, I don't remember the humiliation. I remember the precision, the way paper tears clean when you know exactly where to pull. He wanted me to feel small. Instead, he reminded who trained me. Blood didn't make me his son, but his lessons made him his end.